you protect your kids?
Well, that's it. It's very difficult now because your children are constantly exposed to all this garbage on the internet. It's hard, and the agendas and the machine behind them is constantly attacking the psychology of your children.
Yeah.
It's extremely scary, and you have to do your very best to keep them God-fearing, keep them disciplined, and make them understand at a very fundamental level that your parents know best, daddy knows best, that the machine does not know better. I'm the one who raises you, I'm the one who takes care of you, and I'm the one who's gonna have the final say on basically all of your opinions until you reach 18 years old, and that's how it's gonna be.
Now, quick one. What would you do if your son was gay?
I get asked that question a lot. I would not disown my child if he was gay. I don't care, right? I would not allow my child to be a degenerate person, right? So if he was gay in his own privacy, in his own private time, I wouldn't care. If he was gay and he was a gay rights activist and he was walking around in bondage gear on a gay pride parade in public, then I would disown him. Not because he's gay, but because he's degenerate as a person. I don't care if you're gay or straight. You should keep your clothes on in public. You shouldn't be walking around in bondage gear, gay or straight. There's nothing to do with sexual orientation. I don't like degeneracy. I think degeneracy is repulsive. So it depends on how he acts. But all in all, it wouldn't be that offensive.
I mean, you said disowning, but like, you don't think maybe talking it out, trying to give a chance.
Like, how would you deal with it on a personal level?
Like, would you
it's not gonna happen
out?
to me. It's not even gonna happen to me. So the odds of me having a gay son is 0%.
And we're not saying just that. We're saying, like, you know, with everything, not just that. It could have been anything like that. You don't agree with the way, you know, how the kids, you know, how they're just going straight
I mean, the odds of me having a gay son is 0%. But
or let's say they do something that, you know, is controversial.
Well, it depends on their age and it depends what they do, because I'm not going to negotiate with children. I see a lot of full-grown adults negotiating with children, and it's disgusting. I see full-grown adults sitting there with kids going, hey, you know, if you're good today, I'll give you some candy. I don't do business deals with kids. Children are going to comply.
Yeah.
They're going to obey me. When they reach an age of adulthood, then obviously we can have a discussion, because they're fairly sentient and they're also capable of living on their own terms. But as long as the child needs me for survival, it's my way or the highway, and there's not going to be any negotiation. There's not going to be any business deal. If I sit and say, turn the TV off, they're going to turn the TV off. And there's not going to be any there's not going to be any discussion. There's not going to be any deal. There's not going to be any reward for them complying. Their reward for complying is the fact they continue to exist. You're going to turn the TV off because dad said so. Turn the TV off.
Yeah.
And that's how I was raised. Now I'm going to raise my children exactly the same way.
Yeah.
They're going to listen to me.
At what age do you think a kid's an adult?
I think around 18, I guess legally that makes them an adult. That they still have a lot of learning to do. They're still stupid and they're still going to make a lot of mistakes. But around 18, they're certainly old enough to live on their own and survive. So I'd guess around 18. Let me clarify. If they're in my house, it's my house and I'm the boss. So that's it. I don't care if they're 23. If I say turn the TV off, it's my house. And that's what it's going to be, because my house, I'm the boss.
So before we get on to more businessy stuff, I kind of want to switch the topic. We'll come back to more business in a little bit. But obviously, since Lana's here, topic of women, love, all that stuff, you know. What do you look for in your dream girl?
I think innocence is attractive. Obviously, that's the first thing. Nobody wants a female that lacks innocence. Innocence also comes with a lack of experience to some degree. You like a woman you can show the world to and be her first conduit to many beautiful things in the world.
Yeah.
Respectfulness, complicit, compliant, happy. I love happy women who are always smiley to take the stress away from a hard life. I have a very difficult life. When I come home, I want my woman to be happy and smiling. And a positive force. That's the whole point. I go to war to live a very good life. And when I come home, she has to be my sunshine. That's the goal. You want a ray of sunshine.
What are 3 red flags in a woman?
If she is overly social or has a bunch of male friends, that's the first thing. That's obviously a massive red flag for obvious reasons. If she's very aggressive, hyper-aggressive or hyper-masculine, that's definitely a red flag. Some women, especially in the Western world, are becoming like that.
Yeah.
And if she believes in any of this feminist ideal garbage, and when I say feminist, I don't mean everyone believes that women should be able to have an opinion on certain things and believe that women should be able to drive or whatever. That's fine. But when I mean like full crazy feminists like the West, that's a massive red flag.
Now, do you think it's more important to love or be loved?
It's a good question.
No, because let's say you might not necessarily love that person fully, but they love you.
Don't you believe in you receive what you like?
No,
the energy?
I don't think you receive what you give.
If I had to choose, I would be the one who's be loved. I would rather be the one who's loved.
Now, okay, this is just one of those quick fire questions. If you had to choose money or love?
It's hard. It's impossible to. It's impossible to choose. Like, there's too many nuances to the question. I can't choose. But I do think that love is extremely important. Humans are social animals.
Yeah.
And you do need love. They say money can't buy love, and that's true, but money can help facilitate love.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind.
And how many times do you think, like, have you been in love?
Everyone has, of course.
But how many times have you been truly in love?
I'm not sure. I've never been, there's never been a period of my life from the age of 15 to now where I've not had a woman who I consider myself in love with. I've never had a period of loneliness ever.
Wow.
I've never had even 3 days when I couldn't.
Wow.
Never, ever.
So
ever.
you've never really been alone in your life?
Well, no, I've never needed to be.
So do you
I could be, and I'm saying I could take a week away and go by myself somewhere. I'm saying I've never had a period where I didn't have a girl who was in love with me ever.
Don't you think that might be one of the keys to your success? Because when you have someone
that's on him.
There, I'm not saying that was the reason, but believe me, to be with someone makes so much of a difference, and people don't realize this. Like we have been made to be in pairs. As much as people, are alone, and they sometimes say, "I don't need someone," but I feel like it completes you, and it gives you a drive in life. You get more excited. You do your work. You have something to look forward to.
No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, the person who has been beside me on this meteoric rise to world conquest has changed. There's been a bunch of them, but yeah. I mean, I've always known that I've had to provide for not just, I've provided for myself, but I've always had someone else I had to take care of and be respected by and work hard for. I've always wanted my partner to have respect for me and how hard I'm working. So yeah, certainly every single thing in my life has played a part in the successes.
All right, now obviously your dad was probably one of your biggest inspirations, biggest part of your life. How is your relationship with your dad?
Yeah, fantastic, flawless. I think I had the best father on the planet. I was very fortunate to be raised by the greatest man on earth. And my children will be very fortunate to be raised by me because I'm the most greatest man on earth. So.
By the way, your dad used to be a professional chess player, right?
Correct.
Do you know how to play chess like your dad?
Not like my dad, no.
Yeah.
I can play chess. So.
But you can play?
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, she's gonna after this podcast, she wants to challenge you.
If I challenge you to a chess match,
get the board right now. Do it on camera. No, don't do it off camera. Get the board.
We'll do it right after this.
Get the board. Put it here.
We'll do a wager match.
But don't do it after. Do it now.
No, because it's coming. It's coming. The chess is coming.
Bring the board.
Obviously, your relationship with your dad was great, but this is something I heard you say, and it kind of shocked me. Your dad was a spy?
My father worked for the CIA. He was a linguist.
What's that?
A linguist. He spoke 5 languages. My father.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah. But he spoke them for a reason. So my father was a native English speaker. He only spoke English, and then they took him into the Air Force. He passed, when you join the Air Force, you do a test. He did fantastically in the IQ test. He's top 1 percentile, so they moved him over to a specialized division to learn languages, and he learned Russian, German, Spanish, a bunch of languages. Did
you learn anything about that? Like, did he ever talk to you about it?
He told me that every single thing that you're watching on the news is a lie. He told me that they keep us in the dark. He told me to resist the slave mind. He told me that when you watch the news, your only goal should be to understand what they want you to believe, not to believe it. Yeah. And he made it very clear to me the Matrix existed even way back then.
That's very interesting. So your father wasn't rich?
No.
And I heard you said somewhere when he passed away, unfortunately, he had no money.
He had $12 in his pocket.
That's when, wow.
That was it. Exactly $12.
$12 to his name.
To his name.
This is something that you always push, like, you need to get rich, you need to get rich. In that situation, like, what would you say to that? Because some people might say, well, if you're pushing this and your role model is your father that didn't have money.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. The goal of a son is to be a built-on better version of his father, right?
Yeah.
So my goal as my father's successor is to be even more successful than he was, to be a better version of him. Yeah. I do my very best. I still think he was better than me in most regards, but in the one area I've surpassed him is clearly financially. But my father had a different mission, and he was focused on what he did, and he did a fantastic job of it. But yeah, he was not financially successful. I'm actually glad for that, because I'm glad I was raised completely poor, and I was raised broke poor. I wasn't raised, everyone goes, I was raised poor. No. I was raised completely broke. We were in a homeless hostel, we changed country, and we were living with a bunch of Kosovan war refugees, and we had a really bad story. But that's been good for me. That was part of the life plan that God made for me. But yeah, my father was not financially successful. I am, and that's actually plaguing me a bit because I don't want my kids to be raised rich. So I have to find a solution for this. So
yeah, and I was gonna say, obviously this is a famous quote: hard times create strong men.
Yeah.
Strong men create good times, and good times create weak men.
Yes.
Now you're a strong man.
Yes. Thank you.
Are you going to create weak men?
Yeah, so I'm going to create good times for my life, but I'm very conscious of it. So because I'm very conscious of it, there's no way my children will be raised rich.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are you going to like make them kind of struggle in a sense?
I'm going to make them struggle for real. Not in a sense. They're going to struggle for real. And I mean it for real, because they have to understand there is no safety net. I never had a safety net. They can't have one. So I'm going to make sure that they struggle for real. They're all going to be UFC champions. Every single one of my children, you're going to see them in the UFC. You're going to see the name. So they're all going to fight because they don't have to work. I have money. So I'm going to make sure they pursue struggle in the hardest possible combat sport on earth. That's what's going to happen.
Talking about that, because Lana doesn't know too much. And I think it's such a beautiful story. How did your dad die? Because it's a beautiful story. Just Lana doesn't know it.
Yeah, he was playing chess. He was sitting at a chess tournament. He had won his first 2 games. He was in the middle of his 3rd game, and he was winning. It was a winning position, and he stood up to go toilet, went